Hey guys, just finished watching Legend of Tomorrow, Season 4, Episode 2, Witch Hunt. This episode was kind of interesting, but one thing I wanted to get into is before we get started is just that if we go back to the episode to last season of Arrow, I guess if you're not watching Arrow and you're watching this, whatever, I guess spoiler alert to the ending of last season, Season 6 of Arrow, Quentin Lance dies in there, and Sarah shows up for that, and I forgot to mention that in the review for last episodes for season 4. There's no mention of it, and there's not even a mention of it in this episode, and that's getting me a bit worried. Now, I understand it was really cool at the end of the episode seeing, because they're done filming Legends of Tomorrow, like they only film a certain amount of episodes. Like I think this season, what do they only have, like 10 episodes or something? We'll see. Let's see what it says here. Yeah, 20 episodes. So they only do 20, not as much as the 23 that the Arrow does, 23, something like that, and they always do a bit more. So by the time Arrow's doing the last episode, they can have her come in for one scene because she's already done filming type of thing. So I think that's really cool, and it was a really good moment of having her there. And you obviously can't have, her father dying without her there, right? It's so perfect to have the character there. It just doesn't make sense to not have it, unless, she's busy doing other stuff, but you have to really try and get the character to do that. And so now I think and they made such a big point of it too, when Laurel died, that eventually they got around to telling her, and she found out, and that's was, how it affected her and stuff. We played with that in here, but in here it's like the writers don't even know about it. Now, maybe there's a timeline different, but we keep jumping to, they're bouncing through time, but we keep jumping back to 2018, and nowhere do we hear that Quentin Lance is dead. Ava Sharp hasn't heard about it. Nate hasn't heard about it while he's been in 2018. Now, who knows? He probably doesn't go to Star City, which, again, I need to get clarified, I guess, as to where exactly the Time Bureau's office is in 2018. Is it in Central Cities? Or is it in Star City? Is it in, where is it in? Is it in Metropolis? It's obviously most likely going to be in Earth 1, with Flash and Arrow, but not in Earth 38 with Supergirl. But I think it could be in, their version of Metropolis, or their version of Gotham, or, wherever, a Coast City type thing. We know that exists, so it could be pretty much anywhere to be having the office. I'm assuming it's Star City. That would make more sense, just because, Arrow's the first show, right? And that would make Sarah's from there and all that stuff. And a lot of the more characters are from Arrow than Flash and stuff, with Sarah and Ray and all that stuff. But we'll have to wait and see as to where things go with this. But hopefully we get a piece of that, especially at the end of this episode. We have Zari and Sarah just kind of talking, giving a heart to heart about her situation, how Zari found her mother in 2018, and she saw her, and she's able to. She didn't know didn't say anything, and doesn't know how to save her without messing up time so much. And I think that's. Sarah, of all people, knows exactly how to do that, because their sister, her father. She couldn't mention, I just lost my sister, and I just lost my father. I really don't know how to do that. And she just mentions a couple of people, but she doesn't mention her father specifically. And I think that would have been something that she should have mentioned at that, because it was so recent, it's only a couple of months ago type thing, and she was there for that. And when she was there, not only did she, she was there, and Oliver went to jail. So when she got back in that last episode of Arrow, she lost, she was told that within 5 minutes, but actually within like a minute, she was told, your father's dead, and Oliver's going to jail, and that was it. Boom. Obviously, maybe her father's dead type thing. It was something that she's probably it rocked her to her core so much that she wouldn't even be able to process Oliver going to jail. And it's like, yeah, they'll get him out of jail, right? He's not dead, but her father is dead, and I don't understand how she's not, looking at that. And I think what would have been interesting is seeing Quentin Lance back on the show. Now, obviously, there's a reason why the actor doesn't, it's probably done. His contract was probably up after six seasons, and he probably didn't want to come back, and so he probably wouldn't want to come and do a cameo on here. But it would be cool to get someone cast a younger version of her father, so that she could see these people. Maybe cast a younger version of Laurel Lance type thing. And I think, well, we've always had, you can have a younger version of of Laurel Lance. So we've already had Katie Cassidy playing her even way back in the flashbacks, but I guess you could always go back to when they were a child, when they were like 15 years old, and you could see a young version there, or even going back to Quentin Lance when he was like 15 years old, and she could meet him in the 80s or something when he was really, really young. And I think it could be quite interesting to see that and see a different actor playing him. But I think it'd just be something I'd like to see kind of deal with, and I'd like to see how it would affect her and her relationships, and just have it kind of part of this. Now she's already gone through a loss with losing with losing Laurel, but this time she was able to be there when he got injured, type thing. So I think that could be something that to see her deal with that, and at least mentioning it, and kind of as if like, yeah, she's still kind of bubbly, because she feels a bit more bubbly and positive this season. So to see her kind of a bit dark would be kind of interesting, just to see how she's taking it, but in a different way, because she already has experience losing people, type thing. So I think that could be a very interesting idea with that. Actually, if we go back to our earlier seasons of Arrow, she even lost Oliver when the Gambit went down. She was on the Gambit too, and everything went awry. She thought Oliver was dead until she met him again later on in the island. So she's already dealt with loss. This would be the third time you could technically say she's dealt with loss, with Quentin dying her father. So I think dealing with that in a way that's like, yeah, I have an idea how to deal with it, but I still don't know how to deal with it, So she's able to kind of fake, stuff it down a little bit more, but she doesn't know really how to deal it. She's just, kind of locking up, put it away, and I think this could have been an opportunity for her to bring her up with Zarian saying, like, I don't know how to deal with this either, type of thing. So I think that could be something cool to mention. I don't know why they didn't mention that she just lost her father. Usually they would have, and these shows usually been good at doing that, just those little connections there. If you have her for the last episode, don't just call her in and not tell, to more writers, hey, by the way, we're killing off Quentin Lance, and we got Katie Cassidy back. They probably had to send a message over, like, make sure that her schedule was done by the time so she could have that cameo for the end of last season of Arrow. So I don't know, it's just something I wish that they would bring into here. I don't know why they didn't touch upon it at all. Hopefully it does come up. We'll have to wait and see as to where things go. Maybe it's not exactly. I'm pretty sure this should be concurrent kind of to Arrow, so she should have already know that her father is dead, type thing, in 2018. So I think that could be an interesting thing, but it's something they need to get into. So let's get into this episode. We got John Constantine joining the ship. In the last episode, he told Sarah no, he doesn't want to join the ship, doesn't want to become a legend and live there. And then he realizes right in the first thing in this episode is that he needs to join the ship because they're useless without him. They can't do anything without him, and they're going to need him with the against the magic and stuff. So that's really cool right there. I was really happy with that one. We see that Nate is kind of staying at the Time Bureau. Since he's in 2018, he's kind of sleeping at the Time Bureau place because he's doesn't have a good relationship with his parents, and the dinner with his father kind of goes awry type thing. Doesn't really work out. I find that Prudence, who is the kid from the 18th century, and we find out that she has a fairy godmother that's granting all her wishes, making the crows attack people, and trying to save her mother from becoming burned to the stake as a witch type thing. So I think that was really cool dealing with that. If I'm not mistaken, I looked it up. The actress who plays the fairy godmother, Jane Carr, actually was she did a couple of X-Men stuff in the X-Men video games. She played more of a tiger. She voiced them, and did some stuff in the 90s Fantastic Four cartoon. So those are pretty cool there. So she already has comic book history a little bit, I guess. So that was really cool checking that one out. We see that Nate's father, we find out that later on he's in charge of because his job has always been secretive. Nate never really knew what he was doing. He's in charge of funding at the Time Bureau, so he works, I guess, in the government. And that was really cool dealing with that. And then we see that Zari tries to save Jane, Prudence's mother, from getting, burned, but she doesn't want to. And she kind of like tries to use her she uses her stone and stuff to kind of scare everything. She's almost about to kill everyone, and she has that realizing moment that, whoa, she's going too far. And that's when everything kind of backfires to her. And her necklace actually starts to melt and stuff, and the fire later on at the end of the episode. So she loses the pendant, but she still has the little charm at the end of it. So I think that's really cool to see, is she going to make a different version? How is she going to use it again? I mean, clearly she's able to use it without having to have it on a necklace, but I think it's going to be way more, useful, convenient to have it on the necklace rather than having to hold it every time she does anything. I mean, if you didn't want to lose it, what if you just swallowed it, I don't know. What if you broke it up? Would that still work then? Type of thing. It would be something interesting to find out. Or if she makes her another one, what is it going to make the look? She's going to make her own pendant type of thing. That'll be cool to see as to how she goes about that. And then we see Ray and Rory get turned into pigs, and Constantine gets his mouth shown shut. I think that was kind of cool dealing with that. And then at the end of the episode, we see that Nate ends up getting $4.2 billion a year for the Time Bureau from his father when he shows that that Ray was turned into a pig. And I think that was really cool dealing with that, and going to see how his father, his relationship with his father is going to continue on. And we see that at the end of the episode, Ava Sharp offers him a job at the Time Bureau, since she now has $4.2 billion a year to pay people. He's going to stay there at the Time Bureau, and Ray goes back to the time ship. So I think that was really cool. It's going to be cool to see is how things kind of go with that. Do we get to still see him? We see a bit of Ava Sharp all the time, but not every episode. So I think this could be interesting. Maybe the actor just needs time off for a couple of episodes. I think it would be cool just to see as to how that is and how things are going to go, and what is he going to be doing. And it would be cool to see maybe from his perspective a different mission, when he's on little Time Bureau missions type thing, or he ends up seeing them in the same time but for a different mission, type thing. I think that could be an interesting idea. They meet in a time period, but for completely different reasons type thing. I think he could be there for one thing, she could be there for the other, and they just kind of literally cross paths and see you later, and then that's it. They keep going by, right? I think it could be something interesting to see as to where things go with that. So, and then we look at the trailer for next week's episode. It looks like it's going to be a punk rock London theme, so that'll be quite cool. It could be interesting to see as to where things kind of go with that, especially since if you get back to the Constantine show, you watch that and it's a lot more of a darker supernatural-esque show. It's obviously the main theme of it, and having Constantine on here, they're going for it a bit more supernatural here, but it's a bit of a more lighthearted approach. I would like to see a couple of episodes that feel a bit more Constantine, but still keeping the just to see the legends in that kind of setting with Constantine, as if a kind of an episode that seems more Constantine-like, where they just take the legends and throw them into the Constantine show type thing, and then having episodes like that, and then mixed in with the lightheartedness, unicorn and fairy godmother, bright of legends, they're going back and forth. The show has the opportunity to do both of that, not just sticking with the one formula, bright and bubbly, just going back and forth between bright, bubbly, dark, cringe, and things like that. And it looks like that's what they're kind of doing in the next episode. We'll have to wait and see how it turns out. But I think definitely kind of bouncing around and having, different type of show type thing, and not just the same, bright and bubbly, which obviously we're only in episode 2, so we'll have to wait and see as to where things go. But I think that'll be quite fun to see and where things continue on. And it was quite interesting to see, especially at the end when Constantine was dealing with the fairy godmother, and he offered to spare her and to just keep her as his fairy godmother, but because she knows who's after him, she doesn't want anything to do with that. So she chooses, no, I'd rather go to hell than stick with you, because you got some stink in you and something's coming after you, and I don't want to be anywhere near you when that happens. So I think that's going to be interesting to see, and to see kind of where things kind of go with all that, and to see how things kind of fold on with whoever is tormenting John. Hopefully it can connect back to the Constantine show a little bit. I think that would be quite fun, especially if they started to show previously on and then previously on Constantine type thing. I think that'd be really cool to see that. It's been a long time since I've watched Arrow and Constantine show, but I think it'd be interesting to see kind of things like that, to see maybe they could bring in some characters from the Constantine show. Like I said, it still reminds me that I still can't keep on not forgetting that Dr. Fate helmet was a cameo, had a cameo in the pilot, if I'm not mistaken, of the Constantine show. So that means that Dr. Fate, the helmet of Naboo, exists in this universe too, if now he's part of this. So I think that's really going to be cool to see if Dr. Fate ever appears in the show. I think that would be really, really cool to see that. But we haven't seen anything from the Constantine show other than actually him himself. We haven't gone to his house in the beginning that he has in the beginning of the episode, or even the taxi cab he drives around in his show, or even any other characters that he had, like Z. And I think Z is the only one I can remember, and then the other guy who has like a bunch of lives type thing in those in the episodes. I think that would be cool to see if they ever return, but maybe they're not allowed. Since it's NBC, a different, network type thing, maybe they only got, the okay from just Constantine himself, right? So we'll have to wait and see as to where things go with all that. So all in all, I'm really excited to see as to where things kind of go with this show. So what do you think, guys, about this episode in the comments below? Season 4, Episode 2, Witch Hunt, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
I'm Captain America, here to talk to you about one of the most valuable traits a soldier or student can have.
Subscribing.
Sometimes subscribing is the key to victory. Sometimes it leads to very little, and it seems like it's not worth it. And you wonder why you waited so long for something so disappointing. How many more of these?
You're still here.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Peace.
It's over.